For me, it's about the potential shift of the axis of power within a decision-making process, whether that's in a leadership role between colleagues or in an artistic approach between people who have a responsibility to commission art and promote it and its users. And we can call those users audience, visitors, or participants. So if you're applying cultural democracy in a leadership model, what does it look like? Well, it's seen as a more distributed model that enables leadership to be driven by many individuals to contribute to the success of an organisation. It's a healthier model and offers greater resilience to a company because it shares responsibilities and the free flow of ideas. So you could say it's defined by the quality of relationships. And for me as a director, excellent relationships are at the heart of every decision we make at MAC. The value of relationships isn't just an ethical or a creative one, it's also business critical, because it enables those around you to thrive and have a shared sense of agreed purpose, leading to higher productivity. This inclusivity reaches out from the organisation to positively influence external relationships with artists and supporters. It creates an endemic sense of partnership. It is by far a smarter, fairer, more egalitarian way of operating. So the question for me is, why wouldn't leaders want to adopt this position? What might be the perceived challenges for leaders in our sector?
In the 2016-17 MPO annual survey, this data has come from there. Although 46% of the arts sector workforce is female and 39% is male, when you look at the leadership roles, so in this case, artistic directors, because that's my job, the split shifts. The larger the organisation, the more marked that divide is. So I'm part of the 38% of artistic directors in middle scale MPOs who are female, whereas 50% of them are male. The larger the turnover, we get down to 31% as opposed to 54%. So cultural democracy is not just a narrative applied to practices and actions involving participants, audiences, but also is something to address in our infrastructure, in our organisations. Start wherever you can make a difference.
Gross and Wilson talk about cultural democracy, trying to unpack it just the way that we're trying to unpack it. What does this mean? And what they say is that actually it's about cultural opportunity that's created for people and a capacity to be able to and capability to take up that opportunity.
I think the UK's approaches to creatively engaging communities and young people are widely viewed as outstanding on an international stage. But for myself, I feel more professionally at home and more understood here in this region. I think that cultural democracy as creative practice has a really splendid heritage in the West Midlands, and I hope that it can be celebrated here.
I have found out that the best leaders have a clear understanding of their own limitations. They don't have all the answers. They know that success is a team sport and there is no such thing as a self-made man. They realize that it takes a diverse team to truly innovate. They search for passionate people in diverse areas of expertise and bring them together. They hire amazing teams and solicit regular input from team members. They show vulnerability and empathy. They admit their mistakes and empower their people to execute on the company's vision through their own knowledge and initiative.
Philip Wood, who actually writes about education, and he writes about educational practice, and is very clear in, certainly the paper I read, that the move is much more towards democratic leadership. And the two reasons he gives is that actually education is for everybody, so there is a kind of inclusive element which is part and parcel of what it's about, which made me think, well, art is a bit like that. And that's what we're trying to do in terms of cultural democracy. And that actually, because it is for everybody and the quality needs to be high and all the rest of it, that there is a civic responsibility to engage everybody to make it as good as it can be. And he says that there are two types of roles in terms of democratic leadership. One is about senior people actually creating the environment and thinking about how they can adopt the principles of democratic practice in the way they provide leadership. And then there is the democracy making, which is about democratic principles informing how people work with each other.
Cultural democracy, engaging in participatory work in a genuinely collaborative way and driving that agenda. It's exhausting, it's tiring, people question you on it. So having 3 core values that I can go back to when things are challenging has been really useful. And I managed to boil it down to 3 values, which were beauty, the joy and pain of expressing ourselves and exploring our world through the arts, justice, for me, the importance of this space and opportunity being available to all, and love, the centrality of collaboration. Thank you.
Good leadership nurtures strong creative practice, inclusive of the diversity of all colleagues, where the free flow of ideas is valued. Creative leadership has guided me throughout my career, and I've always worked closely with artists who continue to inspire me. Their sense of commitment, their perception of the world, their bloody-mindedness, negotiation skills, collaborative spirit, and their ability to see truth when the world feels very murky creates important agency.